Wow, that game on Thursday night. With two teams with a combined 2 wins going into this game, I was expecting this to be a total cluster. And it did not disappoint. The 1-5 New York Giants went into Philadelphia in front of a socially distanced crowd to face the Philadelphia Eagles, who were 1-4-1 going into that game on Thursday. And what an eventful game it was, people. What a game it was. You had Daniel Jones falling on his face before an easy touchdown, which led to a touchdown anyway. Let's not forget that. You had Carson Wentz carry the team again. Deshaun Jackson gets injured again. And a catch by John Hightower. It was a crazy game. A long and storied history, full of classics and full of memorable moments. It had quite a few on Thursday night, and it did not disappoint. But ultimately, the Eagles won in the last minute of the game, and it was definitely a rewatchable game. There was just so much going on. Carson Wentz opened this game with a very solid drive, obviously with him ending in a touchdown score for himself. And if you don't know, NFL on Fox, they have these graphics for the players that score touchdowns. And they have this comic rendered sort of... They're good drawings. I'm not going to diss whoever does these comic book drawings. They're obviously really good. But number one, doesn't even look like Carson Wentz. I mean, look at this. Look at this nonsense, dude. Look at this. Oh, man. Does that look like Carson Wentz to you? Does it? Does that look like Wentz? In all seriousness, a good drive capped off by Wentz. A couple minutes later, Golden Tate gets revenge on his former team and absolutely embarrasses Cravon LeBlanc. And I hate to say this, Cravon had kind of a spotty game. He's a very tenacious player. He's a great personality. He comes up with a lot of big plays, but and I even campaigned for him to be the starting second cornerback on the other side, Darius Slay instead of Jalen Mills, but clearly they tried that with him in this game a little bit, and it did not really pan out for him so well. It really was not a good look for the Strappy and T crowd. Next, we have a long 57-yard drive that ends in a Jake Elliott field goal. And, I mean, again, a lot of these stagnant drives that end in field goals. And, you know, it's kind of more of the same from the Eagles, but at least they're gaining field position and at least they're not getting 3 and outs. It's kind of a step up, but you would like to see their offense really keep their foot to the gas. Despite them being depleted and devoid of weapons and an offensive line and a running back. I think Eagles fans would like to see more just them keeping their foot on the pedal and actually completing these drives. After a long drive from the Giants, which ended at the Eagles 47, Jalen Mills gets an interception. A big play, and he kind of dove for it. He dove for the ball, came up with the interception, and it leads to, but unfortunately, it leads to another stagnant drive, which ends in an interception where Wentz plays hero ball, and it gets intercepted by Bradbury. He was going for Hightower. I mean, a contested play when. If you're throwing a 50-50 ball to John Hightower, if you watch a lot of Eagles games, it turns into like a 10-90 ball because John Hightower can't really, you know, catch the ball that well. Again, that's just Wentz playing hero ball and not playing the percentages. The rest of the half is kind of boring. There's a fumble, a couple punts. The only notable thing that really happened was Jake Elliott missed a 29-yard field goal. And I'm really getting concerned about Jake Elliott. This is a couple weeks in a row now where he's missed under questionable circumstances. He's been reliable to start the season, but the past couple of weeks, you're going to have to put your seatbelt on when you're kicking a field goal, Philadelphia. There was a play, I forget if it was in the beginning of the second half or later in the first half, where Gerry showed some pop. I mean, much of the game, again, he was lost in coverage. Like, he was looking for his mom in the grocery store, like, lost. Like, you didn't know what to do. I don't know if that's just how he interprets zone coverage or if he just can't cover it all. I mean, it's just getting embarrassing for him at this point. But there was a particular play, I guess this is his strength. He was going for a blitz, and he just absolutely popped Gallman and just threw him like 10 yards into Daniel Jones. It just blew up the whole play. So that's one impressive thing I saw from Nate Gerry. Hopefully we'll see 2 in the Cowboys game. I'm really looking forward to that. In the beginning of this second half, a lot of work for punters. Both Cameron Johnston, I mean, getting a lot of work out there. The Giants punter also getting a lot of work out there. You're really utilizing the leg here. So if you're a punter, good on you. It's a good day to be a punter in this game. Next is the shot heard around the world. This drive, there's an 80-yard run by Daniel Jones. He clearly has the touchdown. And I don't know what happened. He pressed... I don't know if you remember NCAA 14 where you tried to truck air and you would stumble and fall. That's kind of what happened to Daniel Jones. He fell flat on his face, and Jalen Mills caught up to him pretty quickly after that and touched him down. But it's a memorable play. It obviously led to a touchdown. There was a couple passes, there was a penalty, and Gallman got the touchdown there. Big touchdown for the Giants, and they took the lead upon this juncture. After trading punts, again, punters getting a lot of work in this game. There was a long drive by the Eagles that resulted in a loss of downs. They went for it on 4th down, and it was a really costly play because Lane Johnson got hurt. He's going to miss quite some time, and that's going to be big for the Eagles, who are already decimated at the offensive line. It's really scary to think about playing behind this offensive line. That's followed up by an 8-minute, 97-yard drive by the Giants that results in a touchdown to Sterling Shepard. Daniel Jones was very clinical during this drive. He really showed the bright spots in his game. The positives of his game really showed in this drive, and it really brought up his stats. And, again, now the Eagles are down by 2 scores. Then on the next drive, out of nowhere, there was a breakdown in coverage, and John Hightower comes up with a big catch from Carson Wentz. What a ball. It was a 60-yard pass. John Hightower comes up with it, and he's so surprised that he kind of falls down, and he had some space in front of him to get more yardage. But it was a great moment for John Hightower, who really struggled this year, and it's great to see him come up with that ball. I was shocked. I almost desecrated myself being so surprised at this revelation. John Hightower with a big, big catch. Eagles then tried to hurry it up. They catch the Giants off guard. Too many men on the field penalty, and then a couple plays later, I think the Giants burned a timeout at this point too. Greg Ward had with a great touchdown pass. There's some pushing and shoving going on, some fussing and fighting, but Greg Ward kind of just pushes him off and gets calmed down by his teammates. And then there's a penalty that's enforced on the Giants for the point after attempt, which Carson Wentz got a 2-point conversion off of, which was big in the complexion of the game. After a drive that stalled out and went nowhere for the Giants, the Eagles get the ball back. It was kind of back and forth. They drive downfield. Then they get a stupid penalty with Jason Kelce ripping off the face mask of a defender, which was not good, which pushed them back. They were like down to the inside the 5, and then they get like a 15-yard penalty. Doesn't matter because just the perfect throw that you would expect from Carson Wentz just gutted out, and he hit Boston Scott perfectly. 5'6" Boston Scott in traffic just caught the ball like above his head and came down with it in the end zone, and that's how the Eagles took the lead, 22-21. There was also a failed 2-point conversion by Jalen Hurts. And my verdict is I don't know if it's the play calling that's really letting Jalen Hurts down. I mean, a lot of it, they did this like they spread the field, they did this swinging gate formation, and Jalen Hurts didn't know what to do, so he just threw the ball away. And I mean, I wouldn't call that creative. I'd call that more avant-garde than anything. It's like, you know, that to creativity is the equivalent of John and Yoko Ono recording themselves screaming for 4 hours. You know what I mean? Giants have a chance to take the lead back and win the game, drive down the field, no matter. Of course, the theme throughout the game and the theme throughout Daniel Jones' career, he held on to the ball too long. Granted, his offensive line isn't that great, but he held on to the ball too long, got strip sack, and that was the end of the game. Victory formation. Let's go home. Eagles win 22-21. Now, what I learned from this game. I learned Jack from this game. I learned absolutely nothing. I got what I expected. Like, Daniel Jones does something funny. You know, Carson Wentz plays hero ball, but is inconsistent throughout the game. They ran Boston Scott inside way too much, but what I did like was they started letting him do what he does best, is let him get into space and let him make the play in space and get him that momentum to go forward and actually get some chunk yards, which is, you know, I mean, which is his strength. Play to his strengths, Doug. Play to his strengths. That's what you do. And, I mean, and I'm looking at the stats. I mean, and I was pretty impressed with Travis Fulgham again. He's turning out to be a revelation for this team. He finds separation, and finally a wide receiver that's not Deshaun Jackson that can find enough separation and can make a hell of a catch. Who knew? That's all they needed. And the Detroit Lions released this guy. I mean, it's unbelievable. His stats through his first 3 games as an Eagle are pretty staggering. So he's had a really good run so far. Let's see it continue. Now, you know, again, and I think the biggest day was the biggest winner of this game was if you're a fantasy owner of Richard Rodgers, the 8% of you in Yahoo Fantasy that rostered him. Bravo. Bravo to you lot. Bravo to you people. Looks like you found a gem. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Nate Gerry had a lot of tackles, but he can't cover still. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know. I didn't really learn much. Daniel Jones had a decent game, but he didn't throw for a lot of yards. He was 66% completion percentage. Which is good. It's good enough. You know, he's pretty good. You know, but it didn't result in a lot of yards, and it didn't. Ultimately, they lost. And he had some good drives. We'll see. He needs an offensive line and some weapons to really have some production. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing I could tell you. There's not there. There was you saw little glimmers of improvement and glimmers of hope with the Eagles that they can turn this around and actually make the playoffs. But there was still a lot of the status quo. There was still a lot of the status quo in this game, and again, they need to get these running backs into space. They can't run these guys up the middle like a cow to slaughter. Like, with this offensive line, I mean, you can't do that. It's not going to work. Now I'm going to do a mini preview of the Eagles-Cowboys game this Sunday. Big game this week. Now, before I go into that game, fun fact. Did you know that the city of Dallas was named after one George Mifflin Dallas, who was born in Philadelphia, former mayor of Philadelphia, former vice president to James K. Polk. He's a lifelong Philadelphian. He was born in Philadelphia, and he died in Philadelphia. Thus proving Dallas has been our bitch since day one. Okay, so I'm going to get into it, the Dallas Eagles preview. So, Andy Dalton's not going to play against the Philadelphia Eagles next week. He's in concussion protocol. It was a savage hit by John Bostic of the Washington football team. And it was terrible what he did. But here's what I learned about Ben DiNucci. He played at Pittsburgh and he played at James Madison. What Dallas needs to do is they need to get him moving. They need to get him to scramble, throw a wrench into the plans of the Philadelphia Eagles, whatever they were planning on doing in defense. He's got a decent arm. They just got to give him time behind that offensive line. They got to do some creative things. Ben DiNucci is not a death sentence for the Dallas Cowboys. Just kind of like what the narrative was, Andy Dalton isn't a death sentence, but you saw the flaws that carried over from Cincinnati with Andy Dalton, not being able to throw to the right, not being able to throw under pressure, not being able to throw the ball deep. Sometimes he forced passes he shouldn't have, and that was a complete culture shock from Dak Prescott, who plays it safe, finds the high percentage passes, and makes them. And that's his bread and butter, and he'll take that every day. So that was why the Cowboys struggled in the past two games. As for DiNucci, we'll see how much he learned from Dak. We'll see if they could get creative with him and utilize him to his strengths and his abilities. I don't think he's a terrible quarterback. Maybe he's not ready for the bright lights of the Dallas Cowboys. He didn't show it today. He was under pressure the whole time, so we didn't get to see him in a comfortable position. With the Eagles' defensive line, that's going to create problems. So let's see if the defense can create some pressure against the Dallas Cowboys. Should be interesting. And the Eagles are going to miss a lot, so it's a great opportunity for Dallas, and it's a great opportunity for Ben DiNucci to show what he's made of and show that he can prove that he's an NFL quarterback. But as for the Eagles, Keith, they need to get Boston Scott and some of these guys into open space. Hopefully Miles Sanders is ready for next week. He's going to have a lot of rest. He missed the Giants game, so whatever he was dealing with, he'll recover from. Hopefully they get. Hopefully Hightower gain some confidence, and hopefully these guys are up for this game, because sometimes with these first primetime games against Dallas, they're not up for it. They weren't up for it last year. So we'll see how they play. It's going to be an interesting game. Dallas week's always fun, especially in Philadelphia. We love every minute of it until and God forbid if they lose, that's when the fun ends. But it's all, and then when the Eagles win, it's a great rest of the week. So I hope you enjoy that game, and that was kind of everything that happened in the Giants game, and everything hopefully we'll get to see in Dallas. So again, we'll see. It should be a good game. I hope to enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy it. So this is